Okay, let's now talk about the internship. What makes you decide to go and do an internship? At this time, have you then decided?
No. I'm still a rich pharmacist. So now after finishing, so we finish university. It's been a good 3 years. Now I'm like, okay, kicking plans. I apply. In fact, I applied to UCLA to study pharmacy. I got accepted. Had good grades, so they accepted me on the strength of my transcripts. Now it was just a matter, I got a scholarship, so it's just a matter of, okay, this is a plan. I'd even told Carol, now this is for me, I was like, this is a chick I'm going to marry. So I even told her, this is the plan, we go. But I was like, I'm too young. So I'm like, this is the time now we go, we both do our masters, get a school in California. So we're together, then we'll come back and get married, So that was...
Hey, Pastor M, you had brains, eh? No, I'm serious. Like, guys really need to understand this. You know, sometimes people can look at pastor and think that it's just a secondary job people take because of not doing. You are, by the time you're even getting a scholarship to go to UCLA.
I got, and I was also rich because I was a hustler in college. I made a lot of money. Like I learned how to make money. Before there were these expatriate sales, I discovered how to find when expatriates were leaving. I'd buy their stuff and sell it. And I remember even with one of my best buddies, Emmanuel, he was my roommate in college. We actually went to South Africa straight out of college. We went on a two-week trip, 1.5 week trip. We ended up going to Sun City. You've heard of Sun City? I mean, we had a phenomenal vacation.
From your own budget?
No, with zero money.
Okay.
But we went then after that, we went to Aka Market, bought like bras and women's things, brought them to Kenyatta Market, sold the whole lot, and we had change. Like we made 30K on top of
then.
Yeah, and that 30K was a lot.
Yeah, that's why I had to put the word then.
Yeah. So I mean, we were like, I'd learned to be a business person, so I'd made a lot of money through university. So I mean, my plan was not to be a pastor, but I remember my pastor walking up to me, Pastor Oscar. I mean, God has used that guy to play a big part in my life. And I remember him walking up to me and asking me, would I do a year of internship at the church? And I remember thinking, no. In fact, my thought was, heck no. Why would I want to do an internship in a church? I mean, for me, it's rich pharmacist. There's where does pastor fit in, But of course, being a good Christian, I was like, okay, I'll pray about it. I mean, there's I had no intention of praying. But unknown to me, he had the same conversation with Carol. And Carol, I don't know, these people who didn't grow up in church, when she found Jesus, she loved Jesus. It was like, this is life-saving. And this is what I never had as a kid. I think for those of us who grow up in church, sometimes you can get very familiar with God. And it's like you take for granted. For her,
or you may not understand grace.
You don't understand forgiveness. You don't understand what God has really done, because you've sort of seen it from a child. For her, and a lot of people I see getting saved when they're adults, there was just a commitment, a radical commitment to God. So her, when she was asked by Pastor Oscar, she was like, done. She didn't even bother calling me. She was like, Z, finish, let's do this. So I remember we talked and she told me, hey, by the way, I signed up for a year of internship. I was like, what? Because I mean, we're going to California. What's the plan? I mean, how do you do that? And so I remember I was really pissed. So after thinking, I just went and told Pastor Oscar, okay, I've prayed. I think I'll stay. I think God is saying I stay a year and do. So he had no idea. It had nothing to do with prayer. It was just my girlfriend is staying. Because I actually thought, at that point, I really did think. I put my options down and I thought, I always do a plus minus. And I listed my, and I thought if I go, it's basically saying
no to this marriage.
That this career it's higher than my relationship with Carol. And so I actually had to think, what if I get the career and I lose her? Because I'd seen long distance relationships not working. So I was like, what if that risk happens? Am I willing to lose this girl for the sake of this career? And I was like, nah. So I was like, okay, I'll stay because of the girl. So I actually stayed. And I joined Nairobi Chapel because of a girl. God used a woman to make me a pastor. Now, unknown to me, again, because of her radical love for God, she had actually been praying before she met me to marry a pastor. But, I mean, when she met me, I was the farthest thing from a pastor, But I think God answered. And so I always say, I was called into ministry because of my wife's prayers, my girlfriend's prayers. So I said yes. So I signed up for a year. it was an interesting year. Bishop Oscar now, he threw us into ministry in big ways. He didn't treat us like kids. It was a real internship. I mean, he got us doing real work. He threw us into deep end of ministry. I mean, we were preaching in schools, we were doing counseling, we were doing reading books. He was working, he sat with us, he'd invite us into his home. So he really mentored us that year. It was a phenomenal year. And every time somebody would tell me, like, he had me preach. I mean, as an intern, I was preaching at Nairobi Chapel. And I mean, I hated it. I hated preaching. Like you wouldn't believe how I hated public speaking. Huh? But he made me do it. And I did it. And every time I did it, people would say, man, I was blessed. I mean, when you speak, I'm blessed. In fact, people would come and say, Pastor, I was really blessed. And for me, I'm like, I like the blessed part, but pastor, don't call me a pastor. I'm not a pastor. I'm a rich pharmacist.
Who's a temporary intern.
Who's just an intern right now, you know?
Because of the Chile.
Yeah, but it was interesting because God used that. I think now that's how God really began to speak to me about, no, my plan for you is not to be a rich pharmacist. You're the guy who's going to reach my people.
How old are you at this time?
So I'm just finishing college, so I must be about 22, 23 there. You know, and that's when actually I began, like, God really showed me the purpose I created you for was to reach your generation. It wasn't to make tons of money. That's not why I made you. And I think I remember just God telling me, you can be a rich pharmacist, but I can use you to change the lives of many rich pharmacists. And I think it was just almost perspective of God showing me, this is your purpose. I made you for something. There's a reason I made you for even before you came about. So you don't tell me what the reason is. Let me show you. And I think I began to understand purpose at that point. Yeah.
So was that hard?
The hardest thing, my guy. It was very hard. Huh? I remember.
I mean, you've got a scholar. You know, I've heard you say this, but I've never had you to the point where it was go. It was green. Go. And
yeah.
You are the fork of a road.
It was actually
Choose
postponed.
this side or this side.
It was actually postponed. I'm coming. Just wait. Yeah, it was hard. I know it wasn't easy because actually God didn't just tell me, let me pick for you your career. He actually told me, I'm going to pick for you everything in your life. You know, and he began to show me that true Christianity, true following Jesus is not you pray a prayer and then after that you live your life. It's actually everything becomes surrendered to God like this. It's like I don't own anything. He owns everything. And my role is to follow him. And he's my maker. You know, it's like the Bible talks about the clay that is being made by a potter. And the clay doesn't decide what it wants to be. The idea of what the clay becomes is in the mind of the potter. I'm the clay, God is the potter.
Even what to be put inside.
So how do I dare tell him what to do with my life and what choices I should make? I actually ask him. And what I began to realize is the joy of surrender and the power of surrender. Because often we think, if I surrender, I have to be in control of my life. Because if I surrender to someone else, then I'm not in control, which means I'm weak. But I actually began to realize, if I'm in God's hands, and God made me and he knew the purpose, when I surrender, I don't become weak. I actually become what I was created to be, which makes me unstoppable. I start living the life I was created for. Which is purpose. I stop living a life of opportunity and dashing from one thing to the next. And I become focused because this is what I know what I was created for. The people in life who've made the most important, who've made the biggest contribution to this planet are people who understood their purpose. So all of a sudden, instead of seeing salvation as this thing I do for God, you know, I used to almost feel like it's a favor I'm doing for God. You know, God he's so desperate, he wants my life. So let me give it to him. And then in return, he won't burn me in hell. I mean, it's just a warped picture.
Yeah.
But I began to realize, actually, no, this is actually me opting into purpose. Me opting into, it's like God is saying, do you want to know why I made you? Because I know I made you. And it's like, you don't know why you are made. I can show you. And it's like, all I'm asking you to do is just do this. Let me take over. And when you do, I'm going to show you why I made you. And that completely changed my life. I think when I got that, I was like, everything belongs to him. Even my marriage with Carol, I was like, I love this girl, but if you ask me to let her go, I'm going to let her go. I love my career. If you want it, take it. I want to be rich, but Lord, if you ask me to be poor, I'm not going to fight anymore because I understand there's a much bigger purpose I was created for than just money. In fact, I began to understand, you know, the Bible says, seek first God's kingdom and all other things will follow, you know, will be added. I began to realize many times we are seeking these other things Because it's like, if I get this, then I'll be happy. But I began to understand, when I seek God's purpose, when I seek his righteousness, when I seek what he's calling me for, these things actually become tools to help me achieve what my purpose is. And I stop living for money. Money becomes something that, because God has the money. If he's the creator, he created it. So as long as I'm aligned to his purpose, he will bring it for me to do what he wants me to do. So it's a completely different way of thinking. And it's one that, I mean, it has shaped everything I've achieved. And you said I've achieved a lot of things in my short life, but I don't think I'd have achieved them had I been holding on to life like this. I think the reason I'm achieving them is because I'm living my purpose. I'm living why I was made. And every day when I wake up, I never say, oh God, it's Monday. I'm always like, thank God it's Monday, because I'm living in the purpose God made me for.
And this shift you're saying started happening now during the internship.
It happened.
The internship is when
it happened. All of it happened in the internship. I entered the internship one guy. I came out a completely different guy, and I came out a person who was no longer. It's interesting. It's like God cured me of so many things in that internship. He cured me of the need to be rich. It's interesting. In my life, I've enjoyed privileges that I think very few people have. I mean, even, few of my peers have. I've been in places, I've met people, I've spoken to delegations. I've been in places where I don't talk about it. I mean, it's crazy places. But they don't define me. I've driven cars that I don't even know what they're called. And I'm happy when I have them, but I release them when I don't have them. I'm not owned by the things I own. For me, everything I own is a tool. And I find that when you're like that, then money doesn't impress you. It stops being what drives you. Because I've come to understand God actually has it. So I'm not afraid of it anymore. Because what happens when you're driven by fear, you can't even enjoy the money you have. And so I've come to actually enjoy when I'm surrendered. I'm in God's economy. God's economy is very different. It's at this level. You just think differently about money, about possessions, about relationships, because it's all about your purpose. Yeah.
Let's change some batteries. We're going to come back.